We've been able to extensively test out the Nissan Kicks VL, the top-of-the-line trim of the Nissan Kicks. And we gave it an excellent review just because of how great it looked, how nice it was to drive, how efficient it was, and most importantly, just how well priced that car was. But with this Nissan Kicks in the mid-trim VE spec costing 200,000 pesos less at 1.339 million pesos, it begs the question, is this car right here better value than the VL? Today, let's find out. Do you want to upgrade those really old and dim headlights that you have in your car? Well, today's your lucky day because today's video sponsor is ZeroStainAutomotive.com. ZeroStainAutomotive.com is a website that sells car parts and accessories, including these Pesos Lights Attack V2 LED headlamps. And today they are giving away 5 of these to our lucky viewers. All you have to do to join is to comment down below which car you will put these beautiful and bright LED headlamps on. And then after that, you have to like our page on Facebook, Liong Cars, and send us a private message telling us that you have already commented in our video. And just like that, you will be eligible for a raffle entry. We will be announcing the winners very soon, so make sure that you do stay tuned to our Facebook page. And so we start off by taking a look at the styling of the Nissan Kicks VE. Compared to the Nissan Kicks VL, it looks pretty damn similar. However, this color right here, Riptide Blue, is only exclusive for the VE trim. Take a look right here and you have Nissan's V-Motion grille. You also have Nissan's new logo right here. Down below, you even have this chrome tiny chin, and you also get the exact same LED headlights with DRLs. However, this right here is no longer automatic headlights, so you do have to manually flick a switch, but that is about it. And you also lose out on your fog lights, but instead you have this entire black piece right here to cover the hole for where your fog lights would be. Over at the side, you also get the exact same 17-inch rims. So you get the same set of rims, you also get the same e-Power logo right there, and you even have the same smart keyless entry system. So what exactly did they change right here? Well, take a look up top and you don't get a black roof. So you can't get the VE in a two-tone color scheme. But this is totally fine because the VL with its two-toneness and its floating roof effect looks kind of odd with their choices of black for the roof and for the pillar. If you don't know what I mean, well then click up here to see the full video review of the Nissan Kicks in the VL trim. Another thing they did change is this molding right here is just pure black. So it lacks any of that painted silverness to it, but the rest of the car you can truly see from the side that it's exactly the same. You have these nice lines and curves to it, and you can truly see the size of this car or the lack thereof. This car is just incredibly small, smaller in fact compared to even some of its competitors, but I reckon this is the perfect size for a city car. And it is the same story here towards the rear. You still do get that same light bar effect, you still get these V-shaped LED tail lamps, and you even still do get reverse sensors right here. Unfortunately, they have deleted your reverse camera. Down below is also still a painted rear diffuser, faux diffuser that is, and a legitimate exhaust pipe. The tailgate, well, it's incredibly light, so you shouldn't expect any power functions to it. You don't really need it. And right here, you have adequate space for any of your city needs. So I'm talking about groceries, no problem right here. A few luggages, no problem too. In case it's not enough, you can even fold down your rear seat 60/40. And you do also get a false floor right here, which houses your tire repair kit. No spare tire right here. Now for the most important part about the Nissan Kicks e-Power, the e-Power system located here under the hood. So what exactly is e-Power? E-Power is just Nissan speak for a series hybrid system. What this means is that although you have this 1.2-liter 3-cylinder gasoline engine right here making 136 horsepower and 280 Newton meters of torque made it to a single-speed gear reduction system, it is in no way connected to your wheels. It does not power your wheels. Instead, the sole function of this gasoline engine right here is to charge up your 2.13 kilowatt-hour batteries located under your front floors. And you can probably think of this car as a pure EV with a generator, with a genset installed inside your car. This means you're not going to have any of the range anxiety, but since you can kind of drive it like a pure EV, you can get all the benefits of a pure EV, such as instant torque. And for fuel economy wise, you can do 15.4 kilometers per liter in moderate to heavy city traffic and 20.8 kilometers per liter on the highway. So couple that with the 41-liter fuel tank of this car, and you're looking at almost, I'd say almost 900 kilometers in a single fuel up. Inside the interior, the Nissan Kicks VE is still relatively similar to that of the Nissan Kicks VL. Sans a couple of, I would say, minor things. So the most important thing that changes here is the lack of your leather seats. But what you do get instead is this really nice feeling fabric seats to it, and they even give you blue stitching on it. Also, if you take a look at here over at the side, you also lose out on the leather padding right here for your armrest or your elbow rest. But what they did leave right here, thankfully, is that this dash area, this middle dash area, is still stitched and is covered in leather exactly like the Nissan Kicks VL. Anyway, the rest of the interior really similar, so you do get hard touch plastic over at the dashboard itself and even on the door cards, but that is completely fine because if you remember just how much this car cost, this is totally forgivable. The steering wheel is still leather wrapped though and is still tilt and telescoping, so this car is truly perfect for anyone who may have longer or shorter arms. Also, you do have that 7-inch screen towards your instrument cluster that displays all your hybrid information and trip computer, and to the right of that is still a conventional speedometer. Also, just like the Nissan Kicks VL, you get the same 8-inch screen towards the middle, which is incredibly responsive, and this also still does come with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, but both of which are wired. The only thing that they did remove right here is your 360-degree around view monitor, but yeah, this car does still get reverse sensors, so you are still pretty okay when it comes to that aspect. Move further down below and you have a single zone climate control, incredibly cool, definitely a Nissan right here. You even get an electronic parking brake with auto hold and a place to put your phone. But probably the most futuristic part of this car is this center panel right here, because instead of having a huge gear selector or gear shifter, you have this very futuristic flat electronic gear selector. You also get a stop start button right here, push button start, an EV mode and a drive mode. Interestingly enough, you can actually force this car into charge mode just by holding down that EV button. Move further back, you get two of these cup holders, both of which are also adjustable, and even a leather armrest with stitching as well. The seats themselves, aside from not being wrapped in leather, they are still equally as comfortable as the Nissan Kicks VL. These are still Nissan zero gravity seats, and they are also adjustable height-wise. So if you are a little bit on the short side, you can easily just jack up the seats to see further ahead. Other things right here include 4 speakers only instead of 6, but you still get the same amount of airbags and you even get the same amount of tech for Nissan Intelligent Mobility, including your driver attention warning, your autonomous emergency braking, your forward collision mitigation, as well as your hill start assist. One thing I forgot to mention is that unlike the Nissan Kicks VL, the VE gets these unpainted black plastic door handles instead of chrome. Here at the back seats of the Nissan Kicks VE, it is exactly the same as the VL. Once again, sans the leather seats. But this is where a little bit of the limitations of the Nissan Kicks really does show. If you're like me at 5'6", short seated behind myself, well then you're not gonna have any issues right here. However, if you're a little bit on the taller side, seated behind yourself, you're gonna struggle because legroom isn't the best, but for me, it's no problem. Headroom though is okay, even though you are 6 feet tall or above. Now there is a middle seat right here, and you don't get a center armrest, but this middle seat is more of an emergency seat because the car isn't that wide either, which means seating 3 people abreast is definitely an unpleasant experience unless it is an incredibly short ride. Nonetheless, you still get 2 of these USB ports, but it is a shame that you only get them both in USB-A instead of USB-C. The materials on the sides, well, they are also hard touch plastic, and just like the front, you lose out on those chrome door handles, but that is about it. So now we drive the Nissan Kicks in this VE trim. And driving this car, obviously it will drive exactly the same as the Nissan Kicks VL because they do have that same 1.2-liter gasoline generator under the hood paired to that electric motor. And most importantly, since they do have that same type of engine, the very moment you step on the accelerator with this one, it just immediately kicks you back towards the seat because you get zero lag from these electric motors, so it really does feel like you're driving a purely electric vehicle. No matter which mode you leave this in, be it eco mode, normal mode, or sport mode, you will always have this sensation of speed that makes this car feel like it has twice or thrice the amount of horsepower or torque on tap. The transmission in this one too, it is what Nissan calls their single speed gear reduction, which means that there technically is just like one gear right here. So gear shifts are very seamless. No matter what speed you're going, if you do step on the accelerator, it immediately just hits and goes forward. It has zero hesitation whatsoever because again, it doesn't really have to shift between any gears. And this is something that I noticed with the Nissan Kicks. So in a lot of electric vehicles, you get an explosive amount of power and torque from a standstill, but once you're going on faster speeds, for example, you're going like 80 on the highway and you step on the accelerator, most EVs will start to run out of juice. But with the Nissan Kicks, although it's not as explosive as coming from a standstill, it still gives you adequate acceleration, especially when you want to overtake at higher speeds. The suspension setup in the Nissan Kicks is also a little bit on the firm side. If you compare this to some of its competitors, particularly another Japanese brand, well then this is definitely a bit firmer. However, the main difference right here is that slightly firmer setup does contribute to a little bit better handling when it comes to pushing this car over corners and bends. But do take note that this car is still a crossover SUV, which is a little bit higher compared to, let's say, a sedan, so you will still find yourself leaning a bit. The Nissan Kicks is also an excellent city cruiser for two reasons. Number one, instead of sitting at a stoplight idling your gasoline engine, the electric motor can be the one that powers your AC system as well as your radio, so you can sit here comfortably without using any fuel. Also, since it is a Nissan, you can expect the coldest air conditioning system out there. So even on a hot day such as this one, I can just leave it in the lowest fan speed and I can still feel very much cool and relaxed in here. Second reason would be the Nissan Kicks is just incredibly quiet, since it also rarely actually uses that gasoline engine to charge, especially inside the city, and you even have the EV mode, which means you don't hear any of the gasoline noise in here that often. You can just cruise along in pure EV comfort right here, and it just is frankly one of the most silent cars that you can get currently. However, when you do go up onto the highway, well, yes, the Nissan Kicks could really improve a little bit more when it comes to noise insulation, because road noise and, well, wind noise a little bit does creep into the cabin, and that is not the most pleasant experience out there. Nonetheless, as a highway cruiser, if you don't really mind having to hear a little bit of wind noise and tire noise, the Nissan Kicks is also still pretty good. The steering in this one too, it is pretty light and it's quite easy to maneuver inside the city despite having no reverse camera. The car is short enough to be easily maneuvered. Yet another aspect of the Nissan Kicks that we truly have to talk about is the addition of Nissan's e-pedal step. So e-pedal step is Nissan's form of one pedal driving. By one pedal, I mean the accelerator pedal. So as long as you keep this car in sport mode or eco mode, you can kind of drive this car with just one pedal alone. The very moment you lift off of the accelerator, you're gonna feel a lot more regenerative braking compared to when you just leave this car in its normal mode, which means that as you're cruising along, you don't really have to step on the brake that much and you wouldn't have the feeling of coasting anymore. Instead, the car would immediately slow down and recoup all that energy into extra battery juice for you. At first, it can kind of feel a little bit odd, but honestly, it didn't really take long for me to get used to it. However, what you do have to note right here is, unlike the Nissan Leaf, which has the full-on e-pedal, this e-pedal step cannot come to a full stop, cannot bring you to a full stop. So as you are moving towards creeping and crawling traffic speeds, you still do have to step on your brake pedal to come to a complete stop. There are also two drive modes for this one. So you get D, which is normal drive, and B, which is brake mode. So think of brake mode somewhat as like your low gear in a traditional vehicle with a traditional transmission. However, in the Nissan Kicks, by engaging B or brake mode, it gives you a lot more regenerative braking. So imagine coupling that with the e-pedal step in your sport or eco mode, and it just gives you a lot of instant deceleration, which is actually pretty good because you do recuperate so much energy much faster, and you can utilize one pedal driving even further. The Nissan Kicks in the top-of-the-line VL trim therefore represents great value for money. But if you compare that car to the VE trim, with this one costing 200,000 pesos less and only having a little less features, this VE trim represents excellent value for money. And it truly is quite hard to find any other car even 1.5 or 2 times the amount of this car that can match it in terms of fuel economy, driving feel, and also the fun that it can give you with that instant torque. So if you're looking for a subcompact crossover SUV, that is truly excellent value for money, and more importantly, since it is a hybrid, is exempt from number coding, then by all means, do definitely consider checking out the 2023 Nissan Kicks e-Power VE.